your new home for podcasts and original music.
The Zagnif One Radio Network.
Nick Saban does not play anybody less than his. He doesn't put anybody less on the field than his very best players.
What Bama does, what Bama do.
Sorry,
I heard a noise. My bad. Somebody just left it on it on my step.
That Colorado defense is definitely underrated, but they ended up pulling it out late. They have one of the players to watch for, Isaiah Spiller.
Oh, it's better. It's better now. Trust me. Like back in the day, there was at least one murder. So I mean, it's better now.
You realize that you're not doing anything to press your case by getting me to go down there. No, man, come on down there. It was only one murder. Yeah, they're only averaging one murder a year.
And shout out to Florida. They're playing them this Saturday. Number 11 ranked Florida playing number 1 Alabama. So I think that's going to be a high scoring game. And
wow. Well played, Collin. Well played. I did not see that one coming. you get a double finger point, one for me and one for Sean. You know you get.
Here we go. Get your popcorn ready.
So what's the big thing?
Hey there, hello, and how the heck is everybody doing? It is Monday, January the 3rd, 2022. Happy New Year to one and all. Haven't seen you guys in feels like forever, even though we were just on last Monday. God, 2022. How crazy is that?
That's insane, dude. That year just flew by.
Yeah, it
really did.
Yeah. But a happy New Year to one and all. Hope you all had a safe, happy, and a healthy holiday season. We are into the new year. The college football playoff games have been played. The contestants in the national championship have been determined. It went exactly as we planned, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Welcome to this week's edition of This Week in SEC Football. I caught myself. I was so excited. I am Mr. Fingaz, coming to you from Zagnif Central. That sexy fella over there, the brother from another, my man Collin P. What's going on, bro?
What's happening, man? What's going on? You have a good New Year's, man. Stay safe and do anything crazy. Or when you get older, man, you just kind of hang around the house. If you're like me.
Look, we were hanging around the house. We heard a couple of barrages of fireworks go off and said, "Did that sound like gunshots to you?"
Oh,
and my wife was like, "No, I think it was firecrackers. I hope it's firecrackers." And then my next door neighbor texted me. He said, "I got something to drop over the fence if you all need to take cover."
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, we stayed home. We basically just watched the games, and then when the games went off, we hugged everybody, told them Happy New Year. Me and Mama went in the room, got in the bed, and watched movies. And I just happened to look over and go, "Oh snap! It's past midnight. Happy New Year, boo boo." And that was it. That was New Year's.
I hear you, man. I had a little man with me, so we just kind of. I just kind of had this idea. I was like, all right, man. I said, this is New Year's Eve. I said, I'm going to let you stay up as late as you can, like as late as you want to. He made it to about 11:45, almost 11:48, and he calmed out. Now, he had a good showing. He did pretty good. But like I said, we went to bed right after that. I went to bed soon after that as well. So, you know how it's crazy when you get older, it's just kind of.
Well, there's this period of time in your life where, as a kid, you can't quite make it. And then you get to a certain point and you're like, "Hey, Happy New Year." And then you get older and you realize it's just another day. And then
you're like, well, you see them all, right?
No.
I knew when I said it, I was going.
No, sir. You're not going to get us. You're not going to get us. We got to keep our sponsors. Speaking of, thank you for joining this week's episode of This Week in the SEC, sponsored by DJG Enterprises and GreekGans.com. Your one-stop shop for your custom Greek gear. You can get laser engraved thermal tumblers, and you can also get custom designed Afghans. They will hook you up. Hit them up, www.greekgans.com. Thank you for being our sponsor, and thank you for understanding our sense of humor. I started saying if you seen one drop, you seen two. Oh man, I did it anyway, didn't I?
Yeah, can't take you anywhere.
Yeah, I know, right? You know why you can't to get you. Was throwing stuff if they lost their ball game, but they wound up pulling one.
Bama does what Bama do.
Anywhere.
Exactly.
Yes. Hey, we wanted, before we go another further, we know this is all about this week in SEC football, but we do want to send a shout out to the Utes of Utah. I know we joke about them all year. Hey, last chance we get to play this clip all year.
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, 2 Utes.
What is a Ute?
Yeah,
I'm gonna miss that.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely miss that. They God, I forgot, who did they play?
They played Ohio State, didn't they?
They play. Yes, they did. And took it all the way. Gave them a run. I mean, ran it almost all the way down to the wire. They gave it everything they had. Just wasn't quite enough.
For the majority of the game, were they? Were they up for the majority of the game?
Yeah, they came out. They came out and just whipped on Ohio State. They did.
Mm-hmm.
And Ohio State had to reach, dig deep and suck up a gut. And as coach used to say back in the day, suck up a gut and find another year, and they were able to get it done. Yeah. But huge shouts out to the Utah Utes this year for their program that they took on their backs. For those of you that are new to the program, like, why is it such a big deal? I didn't even know Utah had a football program other than BYU. They lost a couple of teammates this year. Lost a couple of teammates this year. Dedicated the season to them. And just definitely the end of the season just caught fire. Totally dominated Oregon in their rivalry game. Turned around and beat Oregon in the conference championship, and just about got by Ohio State. So for those of you that don't think that Utah is for real, all I have to say is, and one last time for the good of the crowd, watch out for those there Utes.
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, 2 Utes.
What is a Ute?
Oh, man. So got to give them their props. And so as Sean would say, shouts out to them. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, brother. The SEC had, at the end of the regular season, and all of the invitations were handed out, there was all but one team that didn't get invited to dance, and that was Vanderbilt. And
that's right.
SEC fans pumped their chest everywhere and said, 13 out of 14 teams made bowl games. SEC, it just means more. And SEC had a little bit of a rough bowl season this year.
They did.
But, I mean, what are you going to do when you got your Mississippi States and things like that? But they did make those bowl appearances that a lot of other teams did not make. So that's where I'm just going to leave that. But we're going to talk about today. We're just going to come in and recap some of games over the weekend. I think we're going to start in reverse order. Why don't we go with Baylor with Ole Miss? This one was the one that I was really looking forward to. I thought this one was going to be the closest matchup out of all the games that were going to be played that weekend. Yep. And wow, what a surprise. Now, let's be real. Let's go ahead and call it for what it was. They did lose Matt Corral. He rolled his ankle, was not able to return to the game. Right. But it was a shocker for a couple of reasons. Reason number one being the backup quarterback, Luke Altmaier, coming in and going 15 of 28 for 174 yards. He was averaging 6.2 yards per completion. Threw for a touchdown. I mean, it didn't amount to much because Ole Miss wound up only scoring one touchdown the entire game, and that was the one that Altmaier threw. The final score was 21-7, and we've already said Baylor is sneaky good. Baylor will get you, and Baylor managed to hold them at a 7-7 tie long enough to pull back in and score 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter,
right,
for a 21-7 win. But here's a very telling stat: Luke Altmaier, who's backup quarterback, came in through 15 for 28, 174 yards. Gary Bohannon, 7 of 17 for 40 yards. That's all.
Yeah, I was noticing that stat too. That was, and they still won the game.
That is the most defense I have seen Ole Miss play all season. Remember, the final score of Ole Miss Arkansas was like 55-58.
Right.
So they were airing it out. I mean, air raid for days. It was just like we just gonna keep slinging it and see who's got the most points at the end of the game. So Ole Miss defense definitely stepped up. If that defense can show up for the next 12 games they play, Ole Miss could be potentially dangerous, especially being in the West and having to play Bama. What's your thoughts?
Well, but I mean, then you turn it around and look how many yards Smith had. Smith had almost 200 yards rushing. So I mean, you gotta attribute that as well. I mean, even though, I mean, he was running the ball out. It's like 172. I think he had 25 carries for 172 yards.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and he was averaging almost 7 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So while they were able to shut down the passing game, they weren't really able to stop the rushing game. Sounds a lot like another game we're going to talk about in a little bit. But Ole Miss falling a little short to the Big 12 champion Baylor Bears, finishing the season at 12-2. Ole Miss finishing at 10-3. I think Kiffin's got the boys off to a good start with that program there. If he,
I think so too.
He's one of those. You know how you hear the coach is a couple of pieces short of a good squad,
right?
I think a couple more pieces and a little more discipline, he can get those guys together, get them in order, and maybe make them a force to be reckoned with in the West.
Yeah,
as long as they learn how to play rush defense.
Yeah, they stop that run, they'll be all right.
And then Matt Corral, turns out that all he did was roll his ankle, was nothing serious. He'll be ready to go. He'll be ready. Oh yeah, welcome. Yeah, thank you for jumping in and interrupting the show. There we go. Matt Corral turned out to be nothing serious, but that rekindled the argument about why the kids should opt out, why we should support the kids' rights to opt out, which, to be completely honest, I'm not diametrically opposed to. I just think, you might get hurt regardless. You're going to get hurt regardless. It's not with football. It's not a matter of if, it's when. If you're a starter, It's not a matter of if, it's when. Whether it's a sprained ankle or a separated shoulder or something. God, the defensive guys lately have been tearing their pectoral muscles. It's crazy. Yeah. But it's not a matter of if, it's when. So I'm not opposed to the guys opting out because they're trying to make their money. But we all know my thoughts on that. So we're going to move on to our next game here. That being, and these guys are definitely thumping their chests a lot because they have won 4 straight bowl games. Yeah, that's right, Wesley Gaines. We're talking about your Kentucky Wildcats there with a 20-17 win over the Iowa Hawkeyes. I think Iowa season turned out to be a lot more disappointing in the home stretch.
It did. Because they were number 2 at one time, right? They were number 2 in the nation, and then
they were the number 2 team in the nation going into.
What was it? What week?
I think it was the week before the conference playoffs.
Wow.
And wound up just getting annihilated and falling out of the top 4. But at one point they were the number 2 team in the nation, and then they wound up playing, playing in the Citrus Bowl against Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And Kentucky didn't take them to the woodshed, but Kentucky definitely came up when it counted. 20-7 win. Will Levis, not a bad outing. He only threw for 233 on 28 attempts, but he had he was averaging 8.3 yards per completion, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And we did say that if Rodriguez showed out, that if he ran for at least 100, that they were going to win. He got exactly 107 yards on 20 carries with a touchdown. So there you have it.
It looks like it was pretty well even game as far as the the quarterbacks and the leading rushers and the receiving yards. Well, Robinson had 170 yards.
Laporta had 122. They both had just over 200 yards in receiving. So fairly even match. This was actually a lot more even than the Ole Miss Baylor matchup I thought it was going to be. But Kentucky comes up big with a win in the Citrus Bowl. And Mark Stoops and the boys down there are they're probably partying still right now in Kentucky.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And that's another team that I think is just on the cusp of, doing some pretty good things, I mean, I
don't want them, but, for selfish reasons, we don't want them to get too good,
No.
Because they're in the East.
They'll always be Kentucky. Don't worry.
Yeah, but we want them to be little brother. We don't ever want them to start getting to the point where they start calling us little brother. Let's see. Outback Bowl. Pittman. Sam Pittman says, turn the doggone jukebox back on. We're not done yet. They finish up the season 9-4 with a 24-10 win over the Penn State Nittany Lions. KJ Jefferson, very pedestrian, but he came behind in the pocket. No touchdowns, only threw for 98 yards, 1 interception, but he ran for 110 yards, which was enough to propel his team to a 2-touchdown lead win over the Penn State Nittany Lions. Sean Clifford definitely had a better day, but, well, not really. He threw for 2 picks. He only had 1 touchdown, and they could not generate anything on the ground. So outmatched from wire to wire, it looks like here. Arkansas comes up 24-10 against the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think they'll be interesting to watch, man. It's weird. It's weird to, for the first time in a decade, look at Arkansas and go, wow, they did a little something. And
that goes to like when they were playing us, this would be the better, a better Arkansas team that we've seen, and looks again, it looks like we played them, beat them, we blanked them, right? I think we actually blanked them, but 37-0. But and they kind of fell off a little bit, but then they were able to right the ship, and then have a pretty decent season.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, but for a couple of other games outside of playing Georgia, penalty here, drop pass there, they are easily a 10-win team this season. So we'd be looking for them to tweak some things. They might be a 10-win team next season in the 2022 season.
Very well possible, yeah.
Which leads us over to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, where the Crimson Tide took on the Bearcats of Cincinnati. I feel bad for that kid with the viral video, bro.
Which one is that one? Sorry.
The kid did a viral video where he's stepping on and stomping on the Bama t-shirts, and we want Bama, and like literally kid is. I didn't see that. Kid is going all out. I wish I should have pulled it so we would have it here. But the Bearcats fans did show up in big numbers. They traveled very well, but 27-6 says it all, man. You know what I mean? I mean, what can you say about this game other than what you have said on this show week in and week out?
Bama does what Bama do.
There it is.
I mean, they gave him a little bit in the first. What was the first quarter? I mean, it was a good. I mean, it looks like they were handling pretty well. But I mean, always, like we always said, it's who can outlast them. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and this
they had a really good season, though. I mean, I'm really impressed with what Cincinnati had done this year.
Now, Sean told me that I jinxed them because all season long I dogged them, and when I dogged them, they won all season long. And then I came on the show and said, I think I believe in Cincinnati on Friday. They turned around and almost laid a goose egg against But, dude, if you look at the box score, it was 3-7 coming out of the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, David, you're absolutely right. We want Dallas. And wait a minute. We want Dallas. Never mind. I'll leave that alone. Sean has suffered enough. That's our boy David Wright from the Let's Talk Football group. Thank you for tuning in, brother. Those of you that are tuning in, thank you so much today for joining us on this week's edition of this weekend. I started to say Let's Talk. This week, we are part of the Let's Talk Football family of podcasts. Our show doesn't start with Let's Talk. It's This Week in SEC Football. I am Mr. Fingaz. That is my guy, the brother from another, Collin, right there. Yeah, sure, David. You're very, very highly tarnished Halo. But yeah, it just proved to be too much. In the second half, coming out again, Cincinnati held Alabama to no points in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if there was any way to erase the second quarter and the fourth quarter, which I know we can't do, but literally they held Bama to 7 points for 2 quarters of that game.
Well,
which
let me
was
ask you this. Let me ask you this, Fingaz. Now, is that the same Bama team that you saw against us? Be honest.
no,
I didn't think so. I didn't see that
absolutely not. Bama came out. Well, we held them. We had a 10-point lead going into halftime.
either. No, that's true. That is true. But I mean, still, overall, that's not what we saw. You know what I mean? Even if you negate all the two the pick six and the bad plays we had, it still didn't look like the Bama that played against us.
No, not at all. I will say this. This year's Bama versus last year's Bama with Mac Jones under center is there's still a big difference between night and day. But again, it's Saban, who we know, don't ever underestimate. Always got an ace in his pocket and a trick up his sleeve and a rabbit in a hat.
Oh yeah.
And Bryce Young didn't really have all that great a night. He only went 17 to 28 in three touchdowns, one pickle.
Mhm.
And Desmond Ridder wasn't far behind him. He just didn't generate any touchdowns. Like all they could get was 2 field goals. I got to give a lot of props to Cincinnati in that they were able to effectively, I won't say neutralize, but they were able to minimize the passing attack because we know Bryce Young can sling the ball around the field. I mean, he's got Jameson Williams out there for crying out loud. However, the other crucial weapon, John Mechie, was missing. So that allowed the defense to queue up on Jameson. And basically, I mean, Jameson was held to 62 yards and no touchdowns. Yeah, the two receivers that scored touchdowns were Ja'Cory Brooks and Cameron Latu. Cameron Latu got a 9-yard touchdown. Ja'Cory Brooks scored I forgot how far off his was. But that's where we are. So Cincinnati falls a little short, and I feel bad for them. It's the only loss they suffered this year. To think about that, man, they lost one game last year to us.
Mm-hmm.
They
were the only undefeated. They were the only undefeated team this year, right?
The only undefeated team in the CFP this year. They come in, they lose this game. They work their tails off to get some consideration from the CFP. And this is what happens. And I hope that this is not something that tarnishes the ability for them to come back. Question. If they come back and run the table again, what do you think is a realistic probability they let them in again?
Oh, they should. I mean, I think it's. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be 100%. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, what's your opinion?
Well, for the same reason that a lot of Group of 5 teams just don't get that love. I mean, up until Coastal Carolina didn't even crack the top 25 until I think they got to 7 or 8 wins, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same. Wait a minute. The same Coastal Carolina that beat BYU last year or the year before.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, we'll play you with no prior notice. Come on out. We'll show you around. We'll beat you up, and then we'll take you out for drinks and send you back home. That same Coastal Carolina. UTSA and SMU hovering between 18 and 25. And UTSA, I think, was undefeated until they went to their conference championship.
Yeah.
No love. So I don't know. I think they should get a legit shot. I do. I don't think the committee shows them that kind of love. Do you think it's because of some fear that a G5 team will jump up and smack somebody in the mouth, like smack a Bama in the mouth or smack a Georgia in the mouth and make a question?
You raise a good point, though. I mean, how big would that be for TV money or that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Or the SEC in general. But I mean, it goes back to maybe it's changing the playoff scheme. I mean, maybe that would alleviate some of those questions. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like when the UCF fiasco when they came in and they were undefeated and they thought they thought they should play for the national championship or they were number 1 in the nation, so they made their own trophy or whatever happened.
We're the co-national champions.
We had a parade, so
I can have a parade too.
Yeah, we have a parade with both of us.
I've seen that Allstate commercial. I go to Party City and spend $15 and put some streamers on 4 or 5 cars and ride them right on down the middle of 150th, right out of here.
Hey, makes you feel good. I guess go ahead and do it. Whatever. I mean,
I got a lot of respect for Cincinnati, what they've done this season. I mean, had hoped that they would perform better in this game, but I mean, it's what it is. There were only 4 teams out of 130. There was 126 other teams that were sitting at home watching Cincinnati play, and they got the opportunity to get in a to get.
Do
in
you
a
think
big time.
they got the kind of notice because they played us last year? You think that kind of put them on notice a little bit last year?
Maybe. I mean, maybe because like I said, we had the last second field goal to win it.
Yeah. And we didn't even have a good year last. Well, I guess we had 10 wins.
We had a decent year, but it was only just decent.
Yeah.
I want nothing I would have written home about. And yeah, David says he thinks that would be amazing for the game. And
of course,
everybody, and you're right, everybody does love the Cinderella stories. That's why March Madness. And listen, College Football Playoff Committee, those of you that do the CFP rankings, have you not been paying attention to March Madness? Like people might not watch basketball all season long except for the diehard or the most diehard and the degenerate gamblers. I didn't mean to call any of you gamblers degenerate because most of y'all are only spending like cigarette money or soda money or stuff like that. But the folks that gamble on the games and folks that truly love basketball, those are the folks that watch basketball. The rest of America tunes in March when it's time to set up the brackets, and that's where the rest of the degenerate gamblers come from. Right here. Yeah. But every single year, what are we looking for? That's the story. Who's going to be this year's Cinderella story? Who's remember you were in Virginia. Remember when George Mason fever was taking over the nation?
This place was going nuts over that. Yeah, absolutely.
For those of you that are not in the DC area at all, George Mason was a very small school located right in the center of Fairfax, Virginia, which is about 20 miles outside of DC ish.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 20 miles east of DC in Virginia. Very small school, went unnoticed, except for people that had specialized programs and folks that lived here. Well, George Mason George Mason was the Cinderella. They made it through the Sweet 16. They made it through the Elite 8. They made it to the Final Four. People were losing their ever-loving. Bars were having viewing parties all over the area. That one kid got a tryout to go play for the Giants. He had no business playing. He should have stuck with basketball. Their center, I forget what his name was. But yeah, I mean, it was just huge. The trivia content. People fell absolutely. Enrollment at George Mason tripled, I think, the following year. Like that money that they got for making it that far in the tournament, and the campus exploded. I mean, there's no place for it to expand, but they built new dormitories. They upgraded the student center. They got a naming rights deal with the auditorium. It used to be the Patriot Center, and now it's the Eagle One Bank Arena.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff. Yeah, and that's the stuff that the people watch for. So yeah, who know, man? Look, could you imagine every year? It's like, who's going to be the Cinderella story? I think football is a little different because football is the ultimate masculine sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And no big strong Alabama. Could you imagine Alabama or an Ohio State or God forbid a Georgia get knocked off by Coastal Carolina in the first round of the playoffs? The buzz, the smack talk. I mean, it's going to happen regardless because we talk smack anyway. But just the buzz that would generate, people would talk about that for years. Like people are still, and the thing with Mason was just 15 years ago, and people still talk about that.
Absolutely.
What has George Mason ever done in basketball? We Final Four 15 years ago. A word? Yeah, we lost to Florida. You guys didn't make it. Yeah, we lost to Florida. Yakim Noah, who's still in the NBA,
that's right,
was a starting center for the University of Florida. So people don't remember that. Yep. People don't remember that.
Yeah, I didn't remember that either.
Yeah.
David's parents were there, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what's good. That's what's up, Dave. I guess David is in the DMV or from the DMV, if not still living in the DMV. But yeah, so that brings that back around, wrapping up this game here with Alabama and Cincinnati. Alabama winds up closing it out 27-6, and they clinch yet again another berth in the championship game for this year, for this season. And that brings us to, last but not least, our boys. Go Dogs, sick 'em, the dogs, the junkyard dogs of the University of Georgia come out and
They
Michigan
were in full effect. They were definitely in
final score 34-11. It was over before it even started, man. I hate to say it. Kate, Alyssa, who is also part of the Let's Talk family, they are, by the way, starting up a show called what is it? Let's Talk Ladies, or Ladies Let's Talk Football, or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be her. It's going to be Janae. It's going to be Delilah, and
awesome.
it's going to be Ashley. It's going to be ladies talking football.
That's good stuff there, man.
David is dropping gems in the comment section here. The media and the committee have the ability to lift these lesser known programs up, and they should do it. And you're right. You're right. They do. And unfortunately, what winds up happening is the outlets that wind up trying to lift these smaller schools up are the smaller market media branches. It just doesn't catch. Like nobody wants to think that the Southern Louisiana Mud Dogs or whatever it is from the Water Boy. Nobody ever wants to think that Buck Tussle State can go up to Happy Valley and beat Penn State. You know, nobody wants to think that the Fighting Minutemen of South Carolina State Junior College can, go out to California to Los Angeles and just run the Trojans up and down the field. They don't want to think about that.
Like Georgia State, for example, like Georgia State or something like that, or Georgia Southern.
Yeah, like Georgia State almost beat Auburn, and people were losing their minds. Like people in our group, yo, you got to go check the Auburn game. Georgia State's about to win. It was all over social media.
Georgia
Facebook,
State did
Twitter.
beat Florida, if you remember. Remember Georgia State beating Florida? Georgia Southern. That was Georgia State, though, I thought.
Georgia State did beat Florida. Was it Florida or was it Tennessee? And it was it was a season opener. And it was Georgia State.
It was Georgia State. It was Florida.
I can't remember if it was Florida or Tennessee, but they whopped them. And that was, you're right, because Dan Mullen memes for days. So the Dogs come out, and it wasn't even close. Kate, I'm sorry, she's a diehard Michigan fan. It wasn't even close. Georgia came out essentially blanked them in the first half. The first half score was 27-3. And it was pretty much more, but we kind of let our foot off the gas. The final score was 34-11. Aiden Hutchinson, non-factor. Hassan Haskins, non-factor. David Ajobo, non-factor. Like the guys that we were most worried about were just not a factor. This was the team that we wanted to see in the SEC play, in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm. And I'm saying,
oh my God. Oh my God. I got to figure out a way to keep these pages ads from playing. It just randomly started. It's not like I clicked on it. Oh boy. Anyway, so yeah. So welcome to.
It feels like we saw the Georgia defense play like we've seen them play all year, and and we didn't play that way against Alabama, and I mean they were swallowing up guys like on the offense. I mean, it was just
man, that one sack that Big Baby got. He just
pancake, pancake.
He just pancaked his blocker, rolled off of him, got up and three-stepped their quarterback.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to see. But I loved every minute of it. N'Kobe Dean out there throwing his body all over the field.
Oh man, he was flying everywhere.
Question from David: is Harbaugh done after this?
No.
Nah. And I tell you why.
No.
He beat Ohio State. I said earlier in the season, for those folks that have been following us all season long, I said earlier in the season, Collin has said it, Sean has said it. Jim Harbaugh could lose 11 games a season. Beat Ohio State. That's all that matters. And Michigan State. If you beat Michigan State and Ohio State, your job is safe. So he's not going anywhere after this because a lot of people were not even expecting him. Listen, he was on the hot seat before the season even started because he hadn't beaten Ohio State yet. He not only beat Ohio State, he won the conference championship and took him to the playoffs. He's not going.
Didn't he sign a new contract not too long ago too? Like they re-upped him. Like was it last year?
They restructured. He was on the reason I say he was on the hot seat is because he restructured for less money. They put it all in bonuses.
Gotcha.
They said if you do this, you'll get a bonus. If you do this, you'll get a bonus. And he hit every point. He beat Ohio State. He won the conference. He won his he won his conference. They got to the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, he beat the only one that he didn't get was to get in a championship game and to win the championship. Those are the two that he didn't get. But he hit every marker. He had to do X, Y, and Z, and he did W, X, and Y. He didn't get to Z. He's not going anywhere. Not after this season. He's too much of a hot commodity. Plus that, I mean, well, I mean, if they wanted to, just to be, buttheads, to be buttholes, to get rid of him, they could, because most of the premier coaching jobs have already been spoken for. I mean, Lincoln's out at USC, Brian's at LSU. What's your boy's name that's at Florida? Who got picked up to go to Florida? Is it Fickle? No, Fickle's at Cincinnati. Who got picked up? The guy from UCF.
I can't remember his name. I'm not sure.
Oh man, sorry for our lack of complete preparation on this, but you guys know who we're talking about. So all the premier coaching jobs are taken. So,
but no, yeah, I was always wondering why Harbaugh hadn't been let go prior to all this, because I mean it was just it seemed like he was definitely on the hot seat, but I mean,
well, because
they keep him for as long as they did.
Well, he was the golden boy. Remember, he played football there.
Yeah.
He played football there. Their golden boy came back to coach, and it wasn't like he was doing a bad job coaching. He couldn't beat Ohio State, and they would always have the one game that they weren't supposed to lose that they lost that just would knock them out of, ever since the CFP, you can't really be a 2-loss team and get in the CFP. So you lose to Ohio State, which you can lose to Ohio State every year. If that's your only loss, that's a quality win. If you go 11-1 and all you lost to is Ohio State, but then if you lose to Ohio State and then you lose to Missouri,
oh Lord,
you know what I mean? You're not getting in.
Yeah, unless you're Notre Dame.
It was always that second loss that kept him from getting into the CFP. But he got it done this year, so he's figured it out. I think we'll see where it goes from there.
That's what I'm saying. Like the dog team we saw against Michigan, I mean, is what we've seen all year, and that's what I don't know. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, Anthony, because I mean that's not what we saw against Alabama.
It absolutely is not.
And I'm hoping that it turns around this next go around. I hope it does.
Now I hope there's some more tricks in the bag. I don't. I kind of like that halfback pass. I was feeling that.
I did. I think that was a little early. I think they should have held that on. I think they should have held that for Bama. But I mean, at the same point, did you see what happened? Who was it? Was it Cook that said that? He said, "I can't believe they called that play because 9 times out of 10 we ran it in practice. They couldn't make that throw, so he didn't make that throw in practice." It was some article I was reading.
But they played it very well. They played it very well.
It was tight spiral on that thing too. I mean, it was right where it needed to be. So,
it was almost like that flea flicker they opened up with in the SEC championship game against Auburn.
Yep.
The flea flicker, he flicked it back to Fromm and he just heaved it down the field, and DeAndre just went, "I got it."
Yep. And let's go back to the 2 dimes that Stetson threw, the 53 and the 57.
That one where he dropped in the bread basket. Cook was.
It was a stop and go. It was like boom. There you go.
So he had a career day, 20 of 30, 313, 10.4 per. Only 3 not a whole lot of touchdowns. And Kenny McIntosh is the one that threw the halfback pass. So he had a very high QBR with his 1 of 1 for 1 touchdown, no picks. He had a better QBR than Stetson that day. Oh God, don't say that out loud. The Georgia fans will be like, "We want Kenny."
Anybody but Stetson. Anybody who wants it. Waterboy.
Yeah, right. On the other end, J.J. McCarthy, they made him look really pedestrian. He only completed 17 passes, 131 yards. And then Cade McNamara, 11 to 19 for 106 and 2 interceptions, which is my understanding that the Michigan faithful are now like, we want McCarthy instead of McNamara. It's just going to be a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, just the whole thing.
What did Bowers do? How many yards did he pick up there?
Bowers only had 55 yards, but he had a little bit of a shoulder bug that was bothering him, so which is why he kind of was in and out of the game. I don't think he played much after the second quarter, so I don't think we saw him at all. Maybe a play or two in the second.
Yeah, I did see that it looked to be not that serious. Like Kirby said that I think he's playing. I mean, like he's intended to play.
Yeah. I was kind of sad to not see Mccarthy be able to get one because he's been averaging at least one touchdown per game since the Kentucky game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Zeus had a. I mean, he only ran for 54 yards, but he was definitely on point in the key plays where they needed to grind out the clock, which is that's Kirby's bread and butter. So it was a textbook performance by Georgia in that game.
You touched on a point that I have a problem with, and you do, and a lot of other people. It's the being conservative the second half. Once we get up that high, we can't do that. Obviously, we can't do that against Alabama or better teams like that. You cannot take your foot off the gas. You know what I mean? And
but dude,
But then again,
you have to be. Yeah, I mean, when you got another game left to play and you can see that your opponent is dogged and their spirit is broken, you know what I mean? Right. Michigan was broken before halftime. We dropped 27 on them in half an hour of football. Their spirit was broken. I think by the end of the game, I'm pretty sure Aiden Hutchinson was the only one out there still trying to hustle and make something happen. And he got stopped on both sides of the center. He lined up on the right, they shut him down. He lined up on the left, they shut him down. If he break through, Stetson would just go up. I'm just going to take off running. I hear footsteps. So,
I wasn't necessarily talking about Michigan, but I mean I was just kind of making just an assertion, just saying that we cannot. I mean, even though if we get up 27 on Alabama, we cannot. We can't do that against them.
No,
what I'm saying? Not at all. No shape or form.
No, you got to keep your both feet on the gas pedal. You can hit the brake when the clock hits 000.
There you go. I was gonna say, no break at all. Like, cut that brake down.
Speaking of, that leads me to our next. I'll get to your comment in a second there, David, which leads me to our next segment. Since we were talking about the bowl recap, and this segment, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you courtesy of our dear friends at 1906tees.com. That is 1906tees. All you need to know, they can make you some custom t-shirts, some pretty ones too, man. Hit the website you see on there, squareup.com/store/1906tees today. Thank you for being a segment sponsor. That leads us to this, the rematch. The rematch. We've been wanting this one since the game in the rain. We've been wanting this one since the SEC championship where AJ was when Aaron Murray was the quarterback. Mm-hmm. We've been wanting this rematch since the 2018 national championship, and we've especially been wanting it since the fracking SEC championship game this year. And there it is. That's a great lead in. Do me a favor and knock off Bama. Nobody needs another year of that noise. Well, we're not going to listen. We're not going to knock them too hard because Collin has a saying that has become very popular on this show. If you haven't heard it, it goes a little something like this.
Bama does what Bama do.
And we have some beautiful t-shirts and sweatshirts that we have for sale on our merchandise page. You really should go over there and check it out. Just go over to spreadshirt.com and look up Bama Does What Bama Do t-shirt and get yourself one today. Matter of fact, if you buy one today, you probably have it in time enough for the game on Monday because it ain't no holiday this weekend. But we are back to the rematch. It is the Dogs versus the Crimson Tide. What do you got, man? What do you got? I'm going to let you talk first.
I mean, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record. I mean, it's nothing going to change in my mind. It's just the formula hasn't changed. I mean, I feel like if we keep pressure on Bryce Young, and we our defense plays like they played all year and against Michigan, and just keep it. Just keep the foot on the gas. I mean, like honestly, I really don't have anything else to add other than that I've already said before. But I think we're all cylinders. We don't have any injuries, besides like Bowers maybe have a nagging injury, but it didn't seem to be that serious. But we've got pretty much a full staff, right? I mean,
yeah, I think even Kendall Milton is back. I think I saw him out there. I didn't see that he had any major runs, but I think he suited up. Yeah, he didn't have any. He didn't have any. He didn't have.
Who didn't play for Alabama? Was it the receiver,
Mechie.
right? Massey, yeah.
Yeah, Mechie's done.
Mechie,
Mechie's done for the season. He tore his ACL, so he's done. Robinson had a nagging hamstring injury, but he's not. He as you can see, he still put up 200 and some odd yards against Cincinnati. Yeah. So he's still viable.
You can't rely on that either, because that's next man up. He's got another bullet. Saban's got another bullet for the chamber. So, oh
yeah, Saban's got a whole clip.
Yeah, sure.
And he'll unload the whole thing if he needs to.
No doubt, and put a water boy in. He's probably good. But no, I mean, like I said, nothing's really changed in my mind. I mean, I'm really hoping and I do think it was. I don't know if I'd call it a wake up call, but maybe it was a wake up call. An SEC championship. But it still, the more I think about it, the more unorthodox it was. I mean, it was crazy how the defense played and their offense played, and then you come down to the Rose Bowl and and the Orange Bowl here, and you see the type of teams they were all season again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like maybe what Sean said last time we met up. It's our nemesis, our juggernaut, or something. Maybe it's something in our psyche or something.
The kryptonite, yeah.
So
yeah, it's just like you get a guy that's a running back that could cut like a Barry Sanders, and he goes to make a cut to his right and rolls his ankle and winds up not playing for a few months, and then he comes back to play, and now he can still make the cut, but he's afraid to do it. So now everybody just knows they key up on him when he goes right, because he's not going to cut on you. Just knock him out.
Right.
So
what you got on it, man? What you think on it?
I think we can do it, man. I honestly do. I don't want to jinx it and say this is the year, because 4 years ago I said this is the year. I don't want to jinx it by saying that, but I think that this year, this squad, I've been saying all year, this squad is better than the 18 squad. This squad is possibly better than the 1980 squad. And that's saying something, because it's been 42 years ago, and it's not like I could pull up game footage, but I'm not gonna go back and go through 10 games worth of 1980 footage. But yeah. I definitely think that this team has all the tools. It's just a matter of them properly using them and Kirby properly instructing them on how to use them. That's where it is. That's all I got. That's all I got. I don't want to I don't even want to make a prediction on it. I think Georgia can win it. I think Georgia definitely can win it. I do say that also knowing the capabilities of Alabama. Mm-hmm. So I believe in it. I believe in the Dogs. I want to see them win one, but I'm not going to call this one, because I just don't want to put anything on it, because every time I put something on it,
I've been very, very unusually very, very quiet on social media, Facebook, everything. I don't post nothing until the game's over. I say, "Hey, go Dogs." That's about the extent of it. I've been very vocal years previous, but at the same, I was going to ask you this question, Anthony. Who was it that from Bama said that they were going to win the national championship again? It was one of their players after the game, after the Rose Bowl. I can't remember who it was. But he said, "We're going to do it again." I mean, we're going to do it again. We're going to win that championship again, this year.
I believe it was James. It was either Jamison Williams or Brian Robinson, one of the two of them.
I think it might have been Robinson. Or I'm not sure.
It was Robinson, because he said, "I waited a long time for this." That was what he
Yeah.
prefaced it with, because
So,
he had.
do you think
Because
that's going to be any kind of fuel for us, or I mean, do you think we need any kind of that? Do we need any fuel like that to
no,
get us to go? I
no.
think we've
The
got
fact,
enough.
the fact that we have a long track record of losing to them, and the way that they beat the crap out of us in the SEC championship game, is all the fuel we need.
I think so too.
That's it. I think that should be all the fuel you need. Plus that.
But that's
Plus,
bulletin board material as well. I mean, like everybody's got to put that in the locker room.
And we gotta kind of toss that one out. Wasn't that a Mark Richt thing, wasn't it? The bulletin board material. Remember old man football? Mississippi State said we played old man football.
Yeah.
So he put that. He's like, I put that on the bulletin board for the guys to see, and they ate up off it all week. Nah, show up, practice hard, stay where you're supposed to stay, so none of you get DQ'd for the game due to health reasons. Show up and knock their blocks off every time. This is what they need to do. Every time those boys come off the ball, you put pad on pad. You run over him, you go under him, you go around him, you go through him. I feel a coach's speech coming on. You run him over, knock his in the dirt, and then you get up, you reach over, give him a hand, pull him up, and line him back up in front of you, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again until the clock reads triple zeros. And then when you look up and you holding that trophy, and then you can pound him and tell him, good game, but I'm going home with the trophy tonight.
I feel you on that. Yep. But that going by the targeting call back on that game. I mean, that's the first time I've ever seen a targeting call. Like, he hit him in the chest, but he did leave with his helmet. I'll give him that. He
led with his helmet. That was I think if he had aimed right or left and gotten his head around him, clean hit. But he hit him with they could get back.
But when you see a target like that, I mean, usually you see like head to head. Like normally what you said. That's the first time I've ever seen one like that, though.
They used to call it spearing back in the day, and that was illegal too. But that's like leaving your feet. yeah. It's like, seriously, I guarantee you Kirby was on them boys. I guarantee you Kirby was on them boys' asses today.
And that was another thing. He ripped into Stetson. I mean, he wanted to score. He wanted to score before the half, and Stetson threw that ball away or whatever. He had like a minute left. And he just ripped into Stetson. Never seen that. I mean, like I said, how animated Kirby was this game as well was not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're not seeing that at the Bama game. You know what I mean? It's just
absolutely.
Too many things are different between.
It's too much at stake for. Too much at stake here to not be emotional about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You hit him. I mean, our football coach hit him. Get up. Do it again. Hit him. Get up. Do it again. Hit him. Get up. Do it again. Like, I mean, 5-6 times. He'd run you in the dirt on one drill, and you still had an hour. You know what I mean? Like, and because there was this team across town that we couldn't beat. They were called what were they called? The West Side Whippers? No, they were called the Patriots. And mind you, I grew up in the suburbs. I played for the YMCA Falcons.
There you go. Dirty Bird.
I played for the YMCA Falcons, but there was this team. There was this inner city team that was called the Patriots. And them boys, look, me being one of 3 black kids on a team, kids from the suburbs, we went and played them little boys, and they ran upside one side, downside the other, and they ran us off the field. And coach came out and ran us in the ground, and that was our goal. The next year, we didn't whoop them, but we beat them, and they didn't run us over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what kind of ship that Satan. I mean, I'm sorry, Saban. Freudian stuff, not Satan, Saban. But he, that kind of ship he runs over there. Like, I mean, honestly, that game that they lost against A&M, I think.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because you see my face. I know what you said. You said what you said. Hey, Skip Bayless, don't back up on what you said.
Hey, I said
Don't back up and Skip Bayless. Don't you back up off of what you said. You said what you said, and like my man Kevin Hart say it with your chest. Go ahead and say it with your chest, Skip Bayless. You meant to call that man by that name.
I did. But this is PBS and stuff. But what I'm saying is, when they lost against A&M, he had them up Sunday morning. I guarantee you.
Oh, I get he was mad because Miss Terry didn't let him have no little Debbie cakes. I wonder if that's code for something. Well, Miss Terry, she has my Debbie cakes waiting on me Sunday morning.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, the man make $9 million. You know what Eddie Murphy said? When you marry a man that's worth $9 million a year, you don't have one job. I can't say it on the show, but you fill out your W-2. Say, what'd you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Here, Johnny, Johnny, I made $70. Put this with the rest. Now we have $300 million and $70 because I want to do my share.
Then you go, Eddie, I want half.
You was butt naked on a zebra last month. Anyway, we can keep this thing moving, man. I do. So I think, not too. I don't think that either you or I are showing any bias. I don't think our loyalty bias is showing, but it is clear
I've got a Bama shirt for God's sake.
It is, yeah. You got a Bama shirt with your name on it. It is clear to, I think, you and I and anyone with eyes that knows football that it is entirely possible that our boys can get it done. I believe they can get it done. I didn't used to believe in silly sports superstitions. I don't want to put nothing on it. I don't want to jinx it. I want them to show. I want to just sit down. I'm still gonna be hollering, "Go Dogs, sick and woo 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 woo," and all that stuff. But I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna put nothing on it. I'll let people talk.
I can agree with you. That this is this. I mean, this. I feel like I've said this several years ago. I mean, several times every year. But I think this year gives us more of a chance. I mean, I think that honestly, this team, like you. I mean, I agree with you. It's a more rounded team, both offense and defense, that we've had in quite some time. And I think this gives us the best chance to do it. Now, I don't know. I guess I want to throw a question about you, Anthony. Do you think if we don't do it this year, do you think? What do you think is going to happen next year? You think you still think we're going to be in the top, or you think I hate to go in the future, but.
I think if I don't want to say if we don't make it happen, but in the event that does, I think we still start the preseason ranked in the top 5 because our only loss. Because let's face it, our only loss would be to the champion of the NC of FBS champion.
Yeah,
so that would be our 2 losses to the same team, but it would still be to the number 1 team in the nation. So. I think a lot of fans will scream and the fan groups will explode and fire Kirby Smart, and homeboy might make another couple $1,000s on his Fire Kirby Smart GoFundMe that for $15 million. Yes, that is a thing. A irate fan started. I don't know when he started it. He set it up for $15 million. Remember, that's how much whatever it was, he estimated the buyout was. So he said $15 million. Let's get Kirby Smart bought out. I think some fans will call for his head, and some fans will say if he had done, and or if he had done what I said he should do.
I mean, they're doing that shit already. I mean,
Listen. I bet you recognize the guy. I bet you recognize the guy who says this. But who have they played? But Stetson doesn't have an arm. But if Coach had done what I had said to, my God, hey, look with the phone in hand, in hand. That's our guy. Shouts out to our guy, Uncle Lou. Check him out, LouTube on YouTube. He's one of the premier University of Georgia video casters out there, and very, very entertaining guy. Well put together presentation. So I mean, the fans will want Kirby fired. The fans will want Stetson's head, or whoever made the. If whoever made the play that cost us to lose the game or whatever, they'll want somebody's head on a platter. And then come September, they'll be like, "Go Dogs again." We'll win like 5 or 6 games and be like, yeah, we believed in Kirby all along. Now you wanted to skewer him last month. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We talked about it earlier about everybody saying we don't hate Stetson. We just, I'm like, come on, man. We got receipts. We got receipts of what you said. You want him to have COVID. You want him to do this. You want him to do that. And I mean, you want him to miss the plane to Miami and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, come on. I mean, be a fan,
Yeah. There was so many people were so excited. Like, JT's on the plane to Miami. So he's just going to be there. He ain't going to play. What?
Yeah.
Anyway. So, yeah, that about does it, man. We managed to wrap this one up pretty tight. I think we're going to touch on that other subject. We'll talk about that another time. Maybe we'll do a little short on it later on in the week. But for those of you that, just to touch on it, Caleb Williams did announce today at about 3:30 Central Time that he was entering the transfer portal and at the university is a potential Hey, David, tell you what, let us get off the air and then hit me in my inbox and we'll talk about it. Well, we got a prayer request in the box here from one of our parishioners about he said his spirit won't rest till he gets set up with a T-shirt with his face on it for the loser in the fantasy league. So that's what we gonna pray on that. We ask you to send a small donation via the Cash App. We take Cash App, we take PayPal, we take Venmo. That's VNMO, but we're from the South, so we take the Venmo too. We take that.
Venmo.
To see the church mothers or one of the ushers after the service. Now, it's a real talk, Dave. Hang on, we'll get with you after the show. But they're saying that Georgia's a potential landing spot. Wrap that whole thing up in a bow. The quarterback room's too crowded. You already got, is JT coming back because he wants that chance to get his draft stock up? Is Stetson coming back because he's still got an extra season? Still got Brock Vandergriff. You still got Gunner coming in, and they're still courting Arch Manning. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 5, 6 quarterbacks, all with the capability of going out there and getting the job done. It's too crowded. I think he waited too late. I think, kudos to him for staying with the team until such time as if he was gonna do that. Well, actually, I think it was a calculated move on his part because if he entered the portal beforehand, he would not have gotten any rest. But not a plethora of great landing spots for him at this point because all the the big names, Spencer Rattler wound up going to South Carolina, Bo Nix is now in Oregon, that kind of thing. So we'll see how that pans out. But that about does it. We also want to thank our third segment sponsor, that being Envision Social Media, set up to help you empower, create, and sustain your social media platform. Need some help today with your social media platform? Get with the good folks at Envision Social Media, and they will get you squared away today. That is www.envisionsocialmedia.com. Thank you for being a sponsor of this week in SEC football. Having said that, Collin, man, it's been a great season. I can't believe it's almost over next week. I might want to jump on maybe Thursday, Friday, or Saturday even, since there's no games. Jump on Saturday, say a little something about the preview to the game. Or you know what? We just come on early on Monday.
Sounds good to me, man. What time's the game on Monday?
I'll have to look it up, but it's gonna be I think it's probably like a prime time game, 7, 8 o'clock, something like that. But anyway, so next Monday, that's when you'll check us out. That'll be episode 21, which will essentially conclude season number 1. We'll probably roll right over into season number 2, starting with season recaps and what we think will be going on in the weeks to come, following what happens in the national championship game. So we thank you all so much for tuning in this week. On behalf of the Let's Talk Family Football family of shows, I have been Mr. Fingaz from Zagnif Central. That is my homie right there, the brother from another.
Yes, sir.
That sexy Mother Hubbard, your boy, Collin P. And we are going to get out of here. We will catch y'all next week. And for now, we are OUWT out. Holla.